I've seen so many things over the years. Where I've seen professionals miss the mark when it comes to networking is one, going into an event and just like spraying business cards everywhere without making connections. I've seen it all the time. They start like just eyeing people up. And if they're in conversation or if they're just standing alone, they're like, oh, here's my card. Oh, here's my card. Oh, here's my card. Without making actual connection and actually having a conversation, they are just passing out their cards, and whoever will like have their hand out to take the card, like that's their strategy, is to just make sure as many people as possible have their card. Well, that's great so that they have the card, but there's no context to that card. So it's not going to be memorable. They're going to think, oh, this is the crazy person who just randomly handed me their card and ran away.
I'm Greg Forzani with Forzani Business Education, and this is the More Profit, Less Stress podcast, where we provide insights for more profit and less stress in your business now with the purpose of turning it into a valuable asset. Okay, welcome to the More Profit, Less Stress podcast. My name is Greg Forzani, and my guest today is Kristin Geer from BNI, and Kristin is the Director of Operations for BNI Arizona. Super excited to have you, Kristin. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, so before we kind of get into things, give the audience what is BNI? What territory are you Director of Operations for?
Sure. So BNI stands for Business Network International. We're a worldwide referral networking organization. And the whole premise is around our core philosophy, which is givers gain. So we attract businesses who are looking to help each other grow each other's business. And so we attract businesses who are looking to grow by referral. So each of the chapters around the world is one person per profession. So that way they can maximize and strategize and focus on their specialty within their profession, but then also be able to collaborate with other professionals who have the same target market as them and really create some lifelong friendships and relationships out of the marketing with BNI. I personally am part of what we call BNI Arizona, which is chapters from Buckeye to Queen Creek, South Phoenix, up to Flagstaff. So the state of Arizona actually has 4 different franchises, and we consume 2 of those, which consist 90 chapters in the Valley. Yuma is a separate franchise, and then Tucson is a separate franchise. So the cool thing is you get to build relationships cross-franchise within BNI, and we have over 150 franchises in the U.S., and we're in 76 different countries around the world, which is pretty amazing.
That's amazing. You said something there that I think is worth mentioning, and it's funny, I'm in one of the chapters, which is how we met. And I joined one of the chapters because a friend of ours was a member of the chapter. And I reached out, said, hey, I want to look at a chapter. And I had no idea he was a member of a chapter, to be honest. And I'm scrolling through and I saw his name. I'm like, hey, Mark. So, but what I want to kind of pick up on you said there is that, yes, it's a business. Yes, it's about everything you just said, but there's a diamond in the rough there of you actually really do build some really cool friendships and relationships. Like I've only been a member for maybe 9 months or 8 months maybe. And I've already built some really good relationships with people there that are like, I call them friends now, and we hang out and it's pretty cool. Like and like I notice this with clients, business owners in their life kind of feel like they're on an island, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like their friends don't understand because they don't. Like if you're not a business owner, you can pretend to understand what a business owner is going through, but you kind of really don't. So what BNI kind of helps with, which is really cool, is to make friends with other people who are in the same situation you're in, which is a business owner, mostly small to medium business owners. And then you're kind of not on an island. You can have real conversations about that with friends, right? So I think that's pretty cool. I think it's an added bonus that the outside looking in would not maybe realize will happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A lot of professionals come to BNI to grow their business, but once you get into BNI, it's much more than just the business aspect. It helps you on the personal level as well, even with public speaking. So if a professional
Right.
is deathly afraid of public speaking, BNI is the best place because you get the weekly practice of talking in front of amazing professionals. And as you build that confidence will then translate into your business. That was me when I joined BNI a little over 16 years ago. I was deathly afraid of public speaking, but now you can't shut me up. I love talking in front of groups of people.
But it's true, right? What you just said happens. It actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, I've only been there 9 months and I'm seeing like some people when they started, they're just like, shaking when they talk. And now they got lots of confidence. They laugh when they talk. They get their point across. So you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
It's another hidden feature for sure. Okay. So before we kind of get into the whole network marketing, et cetera, because like this is something you know really well, and I think it'd be great to get some do's and don'ts and tips. It's actually kind of cool. I did want to say, because I know you've been talking about it and there's been this promotion you guys did and everybody's going to like Monaco. So BNI is more than just your local chapter, but you're all going to Monaco for a worldwide conference, right? That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yes. I love going to the different conferences. So this year, our global convention is in Monaco at the end of October. So we just
That's
had our
cool.
member extravaganza to where we had a member winner and a director winner to join the BNI Arizona executive team at that conference, which is really exciting.
That's cool. That's really cool. Okay. So let's start the story with how did you get into, I'm going to say BNI, but let's call it a networking group.
Mhm.
Like, how'd you end up getting in there? What'd that look like?
Yeah, so I was first introduced to BNI through one of my clients. So when I first joined BNI, I was a massage therapist and I was at working at Massage Envy. One of my clients is like, "Hey, you know what? You should start your own business." I was like, "I don't know what that looks like." So I went through all of the details and ended up starting my own business. And she said, "You know what? The next step is to join BNI." I was like, "Now what is that?" So I attended my
To
first
speak?
meeting. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. And being a massage therapist, you can imagine it's me, another person in a dark room and not talking for hours. So
Right.
going from that scenario to then having to stand up in front of a room full of people and talk about myself, I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. But I visited my first event and absolutely loved it. Everyone was asking how they could help me, what I was looking to do with my business, and what referrals I was looking for. I was like, "Oh, like this is refreshing," because I did a lot of other different types of networking, and a lot of times it was people trying to just pass out business cards or sell you something or sign
Right.
you up for a service. And that's what really attracted me to BNI because it was all about the intention behind building relationships and building that trust with other professionals versus just that transactional, like, "Hey, I wanna sell this product to you," type of thing.
And if you don't buy right now, I'm never going to phone you again.
Right, right, exactly, exactly.
I hear
I hate
you.
being
Yeah.
sold to.
Right. Right. No, I mean, we joke about it, but you're spot on. I think that's what I've seen anyway. I think that's the difference. Like you
Mhm.
said it, it's a giver's game. And that's 100% what that group does. And I think, I mean, you'd know better than I would, but when you join and you're a member, the feeling is if you don't adopt that giver's game philosophy, you're probably going to get the boot.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, if you come into BNI saying, "What's in it for me?" it's
yeah,
probably not going to last very long because it really does attract people who are out there looking to help each other grow each other's businesses. If you
yeah.
are all about what's in it for you, I mean, it's good to make sure that you have goals for your business and that you're looking
Mhm.
out for them, but the intention behind BNI and how you create more success out of BNI is really with the intention behind building strong relationships.
Yeah. So I want to get into networking tips and stuff, and I know that's going to be the heart of this conversation, but I want to say a few more things first. Based on what you just said or what we were talking about, I know when I joined, I haven't lived in Phoenix very long, and when I joined, like I said to Mark, the member that I talked to join, I don't like honestly, I said my biggest concern is I don't know if I know enough people to be able to give enough referrals that the group's going to want me there.
Mhm,
I'm being honest. So I went in with an attitude of I'm going to, and actually it was in one of the first meetings, one of the other members actually said they have a benchmark if they try to give two for every one they get. They always, because you guys track those stacks, right, on the
mhm,
app. So I said, okay, I'm going to do that. My wife and I are going to do everything we can to give two for every one we get, and make sure because giver's game, right? It makes sense,
mhm,
which has been amazing because it's not like we know a ton of people here, but we've been actually, I think we're giving, I'm like on a 4-to-1 ratio. And I'm not saying that to toot my horn in any way, shape or form. I'm just saying that for anybody listening to this, if you're afraid of joining a group like this, because maybe you can't give enough, it's incredible when you actually just put a little bit of effort on it, a little bit of you open your ears in life. It's so easy to say, oh, I know somebody that does that and they do a really good job. And I kind of I vouch for them, like I know a guy, I know a girl kind of thing. And it's actually very easy. And then when you do that, so, this will probably be one of your networking tips you give us today. But when you actually give more than you receive, it starts to come back. Takes a little time to build the trust, but it comes back and it becomes very easy. So anybody that's a little intimidated by testing that, it's actually much easier than you think, is what I found anyway.
Yeah, no, and you're not alone in that. I hear that all the time with people who are brand new checking out BNI. That is one of their biggest concerns is, will I be able to give enough? And I always tell something when they are coming in to BNI and checking it out for the first time. The really big key things to focus on from the very beginning is one, you got to show up to win. You have to make sure that you are
Right.
attending the weekly events because that visibility is so key. Make
Wait,
sure.
you mean like anything in life, you got to show up to win? I'm just
Right?
checking, but
Right, right. I mean, someone can't win the lottery if they don't buy a ticket, right? So
right.
you're not going to gain business out of BNI if you're not
Yeah,
showing up. And that is really the very initial piece that you have to make sure that you have the time to commit to BNI before you join. Because once
right.
you're in and then let's say you're not showing up, BNI does create accountability around showing up. So if you're not showing up, they will ask you to leave. So it's really important to make sure that you have the time to commit and you show up. The tip number 2 is to make sure that you go in with the intention of building relationships, not gaining a sale. Because when you go in with the mindset around building relationships, the sale piece will come naturally. Because as you get to know each other and you're building that trust with one another, you're getting to learn more about their businesses and they're getting to learn about your businesses and you're educating them a little bit more about your business. So the weekly events, the whole goal with the weekly events is to educate, in essence, your sales team a little bit about your business. So that way, when they leave that room that day, they can better sell you. So the goal isn't to sell to everyone in the room, it's to sell through everyone in the room because you want to reach their contacts, not just the people in the room. Because as you build relationships, the business within the people in the room is just going to happen organically. You don't have to sell to them. That's the
Right.
magic of
Uh,
building the
uh,
relationships within
And
BNI.
I think that tip right there is probably number one, really hard for people to get their head wrapped around, right? Because if you're in
Mhm.
sales mode, you're like, I need the sales, I gotta sell, I gotta sell, I gotta sell.
Yep.
So it's a really hard thing to change the brain on. Uh,
Yes.
but it's a super good tip because I think you're 100% right. I think the result is you become more memorable with people, therefore you become more top of mind when you build those relationships. And
Uh-huh.
therefore when they hear about something that you could help that person with, you're already top of mind, it's easy for them to refer. I 100% agree. Okay, before we get into more, like I'm dying to hear more do's and don'ts from you about
Mhm.
networking. But before we get into that, here's why I'm so passionate about this subject: marketing. And I'm going to put sales and marketing as kind of one phrase. Here's my definition of sales and marketing in a very simple, high level description. Marketing is a line on your profit and loss statement. Like it's an expense, right? It
Mhm.
says advertising, marketing, promotions, whatever words people use. And that number is a percentage of revenue. So I'm going to pick some super easy numbers to work with so we don't have to use calculators.
Oh, good.
But yeah, so let's pretend a business does $1 million in revenue,
Mhm.
and let's pretend the marketing line says 50,000, pretend. So that's 5% of a million. Nice, easy math. So what does that actually mean? It means that companies prepared to spend $50,000 to do a million, invest 50,000 to a million.
Mhm.
Well, that 50,000 is 5% of a million. So now they know they're prepared to invest 5% of revenue to do that revenue. Okay, I get it. Where do I spend the money? Good question. So next step to marketing is breaking down what can I afford to spend to get one customer. Simple math. Take total revenue, say $1 million, divide by how many transactions you have. So total revenue divided by how many transactions you have, and you get what's called an average transaction. So let's say average transaction is $1,000. If marketing's 5%, I'm prepared to spend 5% of 1,000 to get a customer. So I'm prepared to spend $50 to get a customer. That's budgeted acquisition cost. And there's a lot of hype in the market now with marketing companies that push customer acquisition cost, which is a great number to measure, and you have to measure that. But customer acquisition cost is what is the revenue you're generating divided by like the actual number of customers you're getting. So when you actually calculate that, you get what was my actual customer acquisition cost? Awesome number. But if that number is different than your budgeted one, it doesn't work. So if you're allowed to spend $50 and you're measuring customer acquisition costs and all the stuff you're doing, and it turns out to be a bunch of strategies between 75 and 200, then the marketing company will say, oh, well, the $75 one's great. It's the best of the group. Let's do more of that. But in actual fact, that $75 is $25 more than the $50 you can afford to spend. So now your marketing budget, instead of being 5%, your marketing ends up being 7.5%. And that 2.5% comes right out of your profit, and you don't know why. And I see this all the time when clients start. Like, I see marketing many times at 15, 20% of revenue. And there's very few companies on planet Earth that can afford 15 or 20% of their revenue on marketing. So, and a lot of the culprit ends up being paid digital marketing. Was that working really well 5 years ago? Probably. It's working less now. So what I'm seeing, because I get all clients to measure this number. I got 30 clients I work with day to day, and 29 of them paid digital marketing. The acquisition cost, the percentage is too high. So they're actually not profitable on those customers. So my point to them is they got to do more grassroots marketing, because grassroots marketing should end up being less expensive acquisition cost and therefore more affordable. And the number one grassroots marketing strategy is networking. So I think that's why I think it's really great to have you join and give us some tips and do's and don'ts on how to network effectively, right? I think for most small businesses, it's going to become like their top one, for sure, 2 or 3 strategies, but in many cases, number one. And that's great. And that's where the market's going back to. So people got to get good at it. Like, there's so much information out there about how to advertise online and do all that stuff, and all that's great. It's great. But there's probably not enough information out there about how to network effectively. And for most small, medium businesses today, it actually is probably their number one strategy. Should be anyway. If they're going to make money, you can go do all the paid ads you want to do, but there's a really good chance if you're doing most of your revenue from paid online marketing, you're probably not profitable, and you don't know why. And the number one reason is you're paying too much for that marketing. It's sucking up all your profit. Okay, so that being said, that's my little soapbox dance, but it's important because I see this with small business all the time, and they just don't know why they're not profitable. I'm writing a book about this right now. The studies I'm doing, 90 to 95% of businesses are either going to close or go bankrupt.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's super crazy. Only 2.5% of businesses sell for more than just the assets in the company. So that means 2.5% of businesses get a goodwill in their sale, and a goodwill is profit times a multiplier. And there's a number of reasons why this happens, but I'll tell you now, a big culprit is people are spending too much on paid digital marketing and not realizing it's not profitable. So again, I'm hammering the crap out of that because there's such a high failure rate and people don't know why. And one of the big reasons is they're spending their money wrong on marketing. They just don't know it. They're not profitable, but they're being told it's working. So I spin that back to networking, super important. One of the questions I had, and I think you've kind of already answered this, but let's answer it a little further. So small business, they've just heard networking is a great idea. We just said that. I understand. So you can talk BNI. That's an awesome option. I'm a believer. I love it. But just in general, small business wants to take advantage of this networking thing. What would you recommend they do? One, obviously, you can reach out to BNI, talk about that. But what are some other options they could do? And they could be part of BNI and go network with other people too, right? So what do you recommend?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when someone is first brand new into networking, I recommend doing all types of networking. And I did the same thing. When I started my business, I joined BNI. I was part of a chamber. There was different mixers around town that you could go and meet different people. And you want to create variety in your networking. You don't have to just have one specific option when it comes to networking, because there's so many different organizations and opportunities wherever you're at, and not just here in Arizona, but all over the world. There's different networking opportunities, so that way you can connect with people. Because I think that's the biggest piece that people are missing, is the connection with people. Because with social media being so big these days, and with videos and AI, all of that stuff, it's missing that human component of that people to people connection. So whatever type of networking you do, like that should be your main focus is to meet professionals, but really go in with the intention of building the relationship with them, getting to know them, and building that trust because that's when you're going to make really, really strong connections that you're going to find to either connect with on a business level or personal level, and you're going to level up your business experience altogether with going in with the intention of just raising the level of new relationships that you build in your area.
I love it. And I link it back to something you said earlier. I don't know, tell me what you think of this, but what I've noticed is because there's a lot of networking over Zoom and virtual now too, right? But from my experience, right or wrong, it felt like on the virtual networking, it was the majority of the people were kind of there to try and sell you and then, okay, get out. And if you don't buy right there, okay, see you later. I'm
Mhm.
never going to talk to you again.
Mhm.
Versus in the in-person stuff, and BNI is a great example, it's more about what you just said, trying to build that relationship. It's more genuine. So
Huh?
like, I don't know, like what I'm hearing is in person more effective than virtual. I would agree because that's been my experience because you're
Mhm.
building that, as you're saying, that relationship, that trust. Like you're actually building a relationship instead of
Right.
pretending to build one.
Right.
So yeah, I love that. I think that's great. And I just wanted to expand on that because I think that's what I'm hearing you say. And I would agree because that's been my experience too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we do have some virtual chapters in BNI. So we do have BNI chapters that meet online, but really their biggest piece of success is what we call one-to-one meetings that happen outside of the weekly event. Because
Right.
the BNI meetings themselves, it's the opportunity to educate the room about your business. The magic in BNI happens outside of the weekly event through those one-to-one meetings because you really can't learn everything about someone within the 30 to 45-second weekly presentations that the members have the benefit of giving every single week. So you
Right.
want to make sure that you schedule and time block. We say at least one-to-one with a member, and it can be a member of your own chapter. It can be a member of a chapter that's like somewhere else in town or a different state or even a different country. And BNI tracks all of that data too across the world, which is pretty amazing through our BNI Connect app.
I love that. And sorry to the listener, officially, this is not a BNI commercial podcast. This is not what this is. Like I genuinely, based on what I said a few minutes ago about acquisition cost, I genuinely think grassroots right now is the answer for small business, and networking is number one. So I'm repeating myself because this is not a BNI commercial, but I will say this. I think what you just said is super important. It's, yeah, the networking event's great, but you're so right. The one-to-ones, the let's meet outside that networking event and actually get to know each other
Mhm.
is hugely powerful. That's going to lead to being top of mind and memorable. I do this with people all the time. Like they live in like, I don't know, pick a city. They live in Miami. I'm like, oh, I'm moving to Miami. And they're like, oh, that's great. But they never tell me they know a realtor or a mortgage
Mhm.
broker or a whatever, right? But they would be more likely to do that if they had an intimate relationship with someone who did that for a living, because it'd be more top of mind, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. So I think that's to validate your point about the power of one-to-ones outside of a traditional networking event or whatever.
Mhm. Absolutely, because even when you are at any type of networking event and you're collecting business cards from different professionals that you come in contact with, the fortune's in the follow-up as well. So you don't have to be in BNI to have one of those one-to-one meetings. So when you are attending different events, don't just like leave that conversation on the table. You want to, after that event, connect with the people who
Right.
connected with at the event and really further that relationship. So that way you're connecting with them, learning about them more. And again, you're connecting with them not to gain a sale, but to create that relationship because that really is key. I see it too many times that people miss the mark when it comes to the connections afterwards. So the follow up piece after the event, because then you're going to be more memorable if they connect with you more. And maybe you connect with them on social media and there's different touch points that you connect them with. But set up a one-to-one meeting with them so that way you can really dive deeper into the conversation that you started at the networking event. And then you'll create lifelong friendships that way too.
And what's your advice on Because some people might hear that and go, okay, so I'm going to follow this exactly like there's a pencil and a graph, right? Like I go to this networking group, I get these cards, I follow up with each, I go to one-to-one meeting, and then I should get a bunch of business. So yeah. So that's my question. So
Yes.
follow the bouncing ball. What do you like? Do you
Yep.
recommend more one-to-one? Like in other words, build a relationship with them versus just expect to get business after the first one-to-one meeting? Like, what's your advice on that?
Right. So it does take consistency. So just having that one connection, they're not going to know all about you or build that trust off of just one connection. So you want to create maybe even a drip system and a communication schedule on touch points and reaching out to them every so often. So that way it's an ongoing conversation over time versus just like a one time, I saw you at an event and then I followed up with you. It's not just going to
And then we didn't get married.
results. Right, exactly.
Yeah,
It's not gonna result in that instant business, and that's what sometimes people coming into BNI, they think it's a get-rich-quick scheme. They think just
right,
showing up, they're going to gain business, and that's not the case with any networking. It takes
right.
consistency over time, building that relationship over time. It's like a slow cooker process. It takes time to build that trust because people love to do business who they like, know, and trust. And that trust can't just happen through one conversation or two conversations. It's being top of mind consistently.
Man, I love you just said that. You're just making me realize you just described just about every marketing strategy there is. Like, there's very few strategies where, like, the first thing you do, it leads to business. Like, there's very few that do that.
Uh-huh.
Like, maybe if you go to a trade show or something, but maybe, but that's expensive upfront.
Uh-huh.
So, but look at digital marketing, look at like anything, you look at TV advertising, I don't know, radio, whatever it is. They say it's repetition, right? So, and I guess you're sort of making me realize, and I want to emphasize that networking is no different, except the difference is you're not really having to invest much money. It's more time.
Uh-huh.
And where the other ones, like people can say, well, I just want to sit on my couch and have the online marketing collected for me. But that takes money and it takes repetition before it works. Like if
Uh-huh.
anybody tells you online marketing is going to work day one, that's just not true. Like it takes repetition, but it costs
Uh-huh.
money. So you're actually saying this is the same. It takes repetition, but less time. And I think what I'm hearing is you're in more control of how the message gets digested. I don't know if
Uh-huh.
that makes sense, but
Yeah.
where with the invisible ones, you're not in control of that message is getting digested. So you're having to do it more often and pay more to do it. So I
Right.
think I love this. Anyway, I'm kind of, the light bulb's going off as you're saying this, but it's, yeah, repetition. You're in control of the message. You're in control of how often. So you said another thing there I'd like you to expand on. What are some tips on, because you said, and I think I love you said this. I think you said drip, but create a routine
Uh-huh.
around reaching out and having one-to-ones with people. So, which is a fantastic advice. What are some tips you give to people on that? Because humans on average aren't very organized, right?
Yes.
So, what are some tips you can give people how they can organize? These are all the people I want to regularly meet with, talk with, whatever. How can they organize that themselves? Because I know it sounds like a silly question, but I think a lot of people struggle with this.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So the easiest way you could utilize a spreadsheet if you want to just be very simple in tracking all of the contacts that you come in contact with and then over time like putting all the touch points so that way you can see the results at the end, like how many touch points did I have with this person that resulted in my first referral from this connection. Or we have a lot of professionals that use CRM systems, and in
Mm,
those CRM systems you can input these connections into the system and create ongoing communications and different touch points. You always want to make sure that you have that personal touch as well, in addition to any like, automated messaging type things, because you really
right.
can't build the relationship with
Yep.
automated messages.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then it
I
just
agree.
becomes spam at that point
Yep.
when you're just getting a whole bunch of emails from somebody. So you want to make sure that you're personally following up as well, but you can create those contacts within that CRM system as well. So you can be very basic, just like a spreadsheet, or kind of upgrade into any type of CRM system. Most are very, very cost effective.
Yeah, and even in that CRM system, I think you can do the email sequences, but
Yep.
you can also manually put in there, this is when I met them.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming with some of them, you can even have it prompt you, remind you to
Mhm.
follow up with this. Like it's time to meet with this person again. And so, you can meet with them as often. So actually there's another question, because I was about to say you can meet with them as often as you want, but that's actually, there's a question. What advice would you give if you want to build a relationship with another
Mhm.
professional? And I love what you said earlier, which is think of them as your sales force. That's brilliant. Like
Mhm.
if you go in with that attitude and not, I'm trying to sell you, that's such a brilliant perspective. How often would you recommend, and maybe the answer is different based on the results you're getting, but how often would you recommend you meet with people? Like once a month, once a quarter, once a year? What's your advice?
Yeah, so within kind of BNI, they say with your power partners, which is professionals that have the same target market but don't overlap with you. And about 65% of your business will come from those power partners. We recommend to meet with them at least once a month and not just like having a random conversation with them once a month, but really diving deep into strategies with them, learning more about their businesses, talking about successes, talking about challenges, and then also talking about how you can collaborate with each other on connecting with more professionals to pass back and forth to each other. Because with networking, you don't want to just hunt for the individual referrals. You want to cultivate relationships with really big referral sources, which is the professions that have, again, they see that same target market as you. So you want to be very strategic with the people who you're connecting with as well, because there's going to be some professionals that you'll meet with that don't see the same target market as you. And so the connections with them may be a little bit more spread out. Like you want to still build relationships with professionals that aren't within your target market. But if they are in your target market and they could be a great referral source for you, meeting with them at least once a month to have that continuous conversation around strategy to pass more business to each other.
I love that. Good advice. Okay, so just to expand a little bit on a couple things you said there, or recap. One, have intention. Like when you meet on
Mhm.
the ones that you're going to be closer with, you share the target. So actually, A, same target market, but B, have intention. Like actually,
Mhm.
don't get the participation ribbon.
Right.
I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
yeah, right. So like if you're going to do it, right?
Mhm.
So I love you said that. And then you said a little golden nugget there, which is you're suggesting networking isn't just about them being isn't just about either A, them buying from you, or B, them being a referral source for you, but C, it could be collaborating to market together, whatever that looks like, to the same target market and share those costs, or you both invite your group of people, which exposes you to each other's database. That's actually, I think, probably a lot of people don't see networking as that, but
Mhm.
that's an awesome piece of advice. Any tips on, I don't know, is there any other tips you can add to just that specifically, like how to collaborate with others to target each other's database?
Yeah. So, one of the things that a lot of professionals have had a really big success in is either to schedule joint events together. So, schedule a big event at one of the businesses. So that way you can invite both sets of customers and clients to that business to do a presentation and or just a networking event to make introductions and to educate everyone that's there a little bit more about your business. Or we've had professionals create joint marketing material together. So that way, when they're coming in contact with their customers and clients, they're actually able to pass and give them like handheld information like, hey, these are my trusted referral partners that if you're looking for anyone in need, like these are like my go to people. So those are just a couple things that I've seen have created a lot of amazing success for professionals over the years.
I love it. That's really good advice. Okay. So we've talked about some do's with networking. Before we talk about don'ts, because I think that's probably just as important as the do's, is there any do's we haven't talked about? Is there anything we haven't talked about, other tips or do's, or like when you're networking, do this that we haven't covered yet?
I think so. I think we actually covered a lot of the biggest pieces that I don't think that enough professionals really focus on when they come into networking, especially with the consistency of showing up and going in with the relationship mindset and building those relationships, and then making sure to have that follow up piece too, because the fortune is definitely in the follow up and connecting with people outside of those networking events.
Right. And just to validate the trust comment you're making, I've done research on different stuff because of what I do for a living. But one thing is spitting out that the 5 reasons people buy in order of importance. So meaning like the most important, second most important. Number one is actually confidence. Most
Right.
people think it's price, right? Price is fifth. So when someone says to me, price is the number one reason my customers buy, I'm like, no offense, but it means you're doing a shitty job of the top four.
Yeah.
Right. So, but number one's confidence. And that's actually what you're saying, which is build trust. And that's confidence, right? So,
Mhm.
so yeah, I absolutely reinforce and validate what you're talking about. I think that's huge. Okay. So give me some don'ts. What are someone's going into networking and maybe they've done it for a long time and they just got bad habits, or maybe they just don't know, like they're getting in for the first time.
Mhm.
What are some don'ts? Because quite frankly, it might be just as important as the do's.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've seen so many things over the years,
I'll bet.
but
That's why I'm
some of
saving that for the last question because it's like the
I love it. Where I've seen professionals miss the mark when it comes to networking is one, going into an event and just like spraying business cards everywhere without making connections. That
so
is
wait, you take a stack and you
just
throw them like
well, and I've seen it a lot to where I've seen it all the time. They start like just eyeing people up, and if they're in conversation or if they're just standing alone, they're like, "Oh, here's my card. Oh, here's my card. Oh, here's my card," without making actual connection and actually having a conversation. They are just passing out their cards, and whoever will like have their hand out to take the card, like, that's their strategy, is to just make sure as many people as possible have their card. Well, that's great that they have the card, but there's no context to that card, so it's not going to be memorable. They're going to think, "Oh, this is the crazy person who just randomly handed me their card and then ran
right.
away." So, there
But
needs
the joke's on them because the person that took the card is now going to add them to their spam list, right? So
100%.
so the joke's on the person that threw the cards to everybody because now they're on
Absolutely.
100 spam lists.
Mhm. Yep, yep, or
Yeah.
on the flip side, the person that goes in with the intention of collecting as many cards as possible without having the conversations. So then they are collecting all the cards to add them to their own spam list, and again, they're missing that communication. They think and
Yeah.
feel that if they have as many contacts as possible putting into their system, that's going to be successful. They're going to gain business just from having those contacts. But what they're going to do is they're going to irritate whoever they've put on now their spam list.
It drives me crazy. It's so
And
sad. I'm a business coach for a living, so I should be okay with people reaching out cold email or whatever, but it drives
Mhm.
me crazy. Like being on 100 spam lists, I'm like, really? Now you're
Yeah.
filling up my inbox. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
I hear you. I'm
Yeah.
sympathetic to it. I get it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the spam is just going rampant these days. And
Yeah.
even, like, I've seen it to where a first-time professional visits a BNI meeting, and they collect. So a lot of chapters have what we call a golden ticket, which is a piece of paper that has a list of all the professionals on them. And a lot of times the chapters will include the chapter member's email address on these golden tickets. So that visitor will come in for a first time, get one of those golden tickets, go home and put everyone on their spam list. And they think that that is successful marketing. And it really is not successful marketing. What
It's
it
the
will
opposite.
do, it will turn everyone in that chapter off from ever doing business with them and potentially create negative visibility and credibility for them if they were ever to return to visit a second time. Because the members are going to be like, oh, yeah, that's the guy that
Oh, no, not that one.
spammed the entire chapter. Yeah. And if they end up eventually submitting an application and doing things, it's going to take them a lot longer to build that trust because of that initial interaction that they had. Because people base a lot of things off of that first initial contact with someone and that
Right.
first impression. So, first impressions are so key in all different types of networking. So again, the relationship building piece of networking is just so, so key.
I love it. So, kind of in summary, you're saying less is more.
Yes, 100%. Just having a list of contacts is not going to gain you all of this crazy business that you think it will. Because many times people associate with just number of people with referrals, but they're missing that credibility piece. They think just showing up and collecting the information they're going to gain business. And that's kind of the whole success piece of BNI. It's visibility, credibility, profitability. And that goes with any type of networking. Yes, you showed up to the event, but just showing up's not going to equal profitability. You have to do the work in between and really stress and build the credibility piece, which is that relationship part.
Okay, so another thing I'm hearing is when you're networking, be present in the moment. Like
Hmm.
be like don't be it's like I don't know, it's like everybody knows this example. You're out for dinner or some meal or some coffee shop or whatever, and the person you're talking to is like like, "Oh yeah, that's great."
Hmm.
And they're
Oh,
on the
yeah.
phone. So if you're in a networking event, don't be the person, if I'm hearing you right, don't be the person that when you're talking to somebody and you're trying to get to know them, build trust, don't be that person that's like checking out everybody else while you're having that conversation because they're like you're not paying attention to me or looking at all these other people, right? Trying to, so
Oh,
it
yeah.
means you're not really here to get to know me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Always looking at the. Well, in
That
our.
drives me insane. The Apple Watch thing, I get it. They're great. I get it. But this is doing this when you're talking to somebody is very obviously rude. So now they've evolved to being discreet. Like, oh, I got the look what time it is, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We call the phones the anti-networking device
Yeah. Like,
because when you are at an event and even at a BNI event where there's a structured agenda and the goal is to learn about each other. So if you're not paying attention and you're not being present in the meeting, then you're not building great visibility and credibility because when someone's standing up and they are looking around the room giving their presentation and they see a whole bunch of people on their phones, the
it's like,
likelihood of them passing that person business is very low because they're not in it for the right reasons. And when
yeah.
you're at any type of networking event, you want to go in with the intention that this is the time to work on your business versus in your business. Put the phone like in your pocket, unless you're taking it out, because I know that a lot of people have electronic business cards these days. Unless you're putting in a contact in your phone or sending someone your electronic business card, put the phone in your pocket so that way you are in the moment, you're present, you're paying attention to the people around you. I get it. We're all busy business professionals, but
But
the
it says
time
you're
that
more
you're
important than them.
right, right, and the time that you spend
Doesn't
networking
matter how
is
busy you are.
very minimal. So
Yeah.
the 90-minute event that you're at, you can keep the phone in your pocket, not answer an email. Yes, emergencies come up. That's totally different. But in the moment, you want to make sure that the person who you're connecting with feels appreciated because then
Yeah.
it's going to build a more stronger relationship with that person.
Yeah, I totally agree. I only ever have like at the BNI ones, I only ever have mine out because you guys have an app, and in the
Hmm.
app I can make my notes so that so I need that as my cheat sheet. And then the phone keeps timing out, so I got to go like I'm like, "Oh, I got to keep the thing on."
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree. I just think it tells people you and your busyness are more important than them and everybody being there trying to get to know each other. I totally agree.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think that's really good advice on a don't. Okay, what other don'ts? What other I'm sure you've seen lots of even little things, little quirks that you're like, "Really? You're
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
do that?"
Right, right. Well, and so when you're giving a presentation at any type of networking event, make sure that you're coming across as professional and giving a professional message. Yes, some people have colorful language that they like to talk sometimes, but doing that's not going to come across very professional. So you want to build a more positive light around yourself and really think about what you're saying before you say it. Because if you question yourself, like, would this be good to talk about in my presentation? It probably would not be good if you have to question yourself.
Right.
Or if after you say you're like,
Right.
"Ooh, like, I got some, like, weird looks after I said that," that probably wasn't good. Probably not a good idea to do that again.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you are really perfecting your message in any type of networking, even if it's a mixer. Maybe practice your elevator pitch on a little bit about you and your business so that way you can go in prepared versus just winging it. And the same with a structured type of networking. When you go in and you have the opportunity to give a short presentation about your business, go in prepared and always, always make sure that it's professional. Yes, sometimes people want to be funny, they want to be memorable, but if it is, I always like to call it bar talk, if it's a bar talk moment, that's probably not going to come across professional. So you
Right.
want to make sure that you're going in with the right intention with the messages that you're giving because when you are more professional, that's going to come off as a more professional person in your industry versus just like the class clown where it's going to take a lot longer to build the trust for someone to pass you business, especially depending on what profession you're in because some professions may take a lot longer to build the trust versus others. For example,
Yeah.
financial advisors, they're going to take a little bit longer to build trust with someone because there's a lot of personal information that you have to give them in order
Right.
to gain their business. But let's say a florist, that's going to be a really easy sale. So the trust is much lower when it comes to sending a referral to a florist. So, based on your profession, would also determine how deep of like the connections and the relationships that you want to build over time because you're going to have to work a little harder to build the trust depending on what profession you represent.
I love that. Boy, that was a really good. I want to validate something you just said using an analogy or another example. So, part of our coaching program, one of the tools we work with is a pretty cool hiring process. And in that hiring process, before you get to one-to-one interviews, we recommend a group interview. And there's a number of reasons, but the number one reason is something you're talking about. It gives you a chance to compare everybody real time, like
Hmm.
in a certain situation. So as you were saying that, I'm thinking about that's actually why we have a group interview in the hiring process. And I see it. You're saying like if you're in a networking event, whether it's a BNI one or a different one, you have a real time chance to compare everybody you speak with. So if
Hmm.
that person's super unprofessional and kind of isn't prepared, so you're saying be prepared, be professional.
Yep.
If that person is both of those things, then when I meet four different people and have good conversations with all four, I got a direct comparison right there. If they're not prepared, not professional, their credibility goes with me. Like that's so that makes a lot of sense. That's
Hmm.
I don't know, like for people to realize like you're being compared real time with others. Be prepared, be professional. That's good
Hmm.
advice. I like that. I don't, something you said made me ask, made me think of another question. Okay, like just about everybody has this issue. So we talked about presenting, people get nervous. So we talked about that.
Hmm.
Another thing people are really bad at, and everybody, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody here, we're all bad at it,
Hmm.
remembering names.
Mm.
So you have a lot of experience networking. Is there any advice you can give people to remember their name? What do you do?
So that is a really good one because a lot of names are hard. One of
Right.
the things that,
Hey, you,
hey,
the one
you!
with the
One of the things that I actually personally do is repeat the person's name a couple times in my head so I can start to remember it. But I always, when I'm in any type of networking event, I wear my name tag because
Mhm.
name tags are will help you be more memorable, especially if someone is seeing
Oh, yeah.
you on an ongoing basis at any type of networking event. So at BNI, they've got BNI name tags. So all the members have a name tag at a regular networking event. They should also have name tags. If they don't, create one for yourself. And so that way you always have
Right.
a name tag on you because then as you're meeting with different professionals and you're shaking their hand, and they always say that you should wear the name tag on the right hand side because as you shake your hand, they're looking right at your name tag. And so wear a name tag. That way, if someone you've connected with in the past is like, hey, and then they look down at your name, Greg. So then that ongoing consistency of always seeing your name on the name tag will also help them remember. And I always give myself a little nugget of information either about them or their business that will also help me remember. I have a weird like memory piece to where I remember where a lot of the BNI members are, in which chapters, what area of town, what they do, all the things around throughout our 90 chapters, which people are like, how do you do that? It's just the
Well, it's
consistency.
90 times
It's 20.
25 on average.
Yeah, so we have
Like,
over
hello.
2,400 members, over 2,400 members in our region right now, and I know a majority of them. Someone the other day was talking like, "Oh yeah, I connected with so and so." I was like, "Oh yeah, he's in that chapter," and they're like, "How did you know that?" I'm like,
Yeah, no
"It's just
kidding.
you create that visibility with consistently getting out there, being top of mind, consistently networking." So and even with any networking event, it takes consistency. It's not just, oh, I attended the networking event one time and I'm going to get all this business. No, it takes consistency. Whether you go to BNI, the chambers, Mixer, you have to go to more than one to be more visible within your community.
Right. So, okay, that's good advice. What about what are your thoughts on if you've forgotten somebody's name? You're at a networking thing and you've forgotten their name, like maybe during the conversation or the next time you meet them or meet them. Do you have any advice for like a confident, polite, respectful way to ask, say that, like what's, because I think a lot of people probably get really sheepish and then they don't. And then
Hmm.
and then it becomes like a thing in your head. It goes on, and then it's like the fourth time you met them, and you still don't remember the name, but you feel sheepish. You don't want to ask. So then it actually becomes the problem just gets worse, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember this is just a weird example of it, but we moved into a really amazing neighborhood 4.5 years ago. Like I've never lived in a neighborhood where everybody's so close. It's crazy. And one one of the neighbors thought they heard my name was gray, like the color. So which I guess, but and they said that for quite a while, and it just got to a point where I wasn't correcting them, and then it got awkward because it became for like, a year. So, anyway, it's a weird example, but I guess my point is, what do you recommend? What do you recommend people do? How would they approach it? What should they say? When should they do it? Any advice on that?
Usually, what I do is when I'm meeting someone again for either like the second time, it's like, oh, hey, Kristen, good to see you again. I say my name first, and then they're like, "Oh, yeah,"
So in
and
other
then
words,
they repeat
hey,
the name.
I'm Kristen. Good to see
Yes.
you again. Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So,
Okay.
especially if you don't have name tags, because if again, the name tag thing is I'm really a big proponent on name tags because it's
Good idea.
easier to make sure that people can see your name, but if they don't have a name tag, you can kind of repeat your name even though your name is on your name tag, because then
Right.
hopefully they will then repeat their name back to you, just as,
Right.
like, a quick little reintroduction, because if
Right.
you haven't at that point met with them ongoing for an ongoing, like, get together and follow up, maybe that relationship hasn't quite being built yet. So I go in with the intention of they probably don't remember my name, so I
Hmm.
remind them and then they end up telling me their name again as well. So that
That's
it
good advice.
it comes off as like, "Oh, yeah, I'm Kristen," like, and then it creates an
So
easier way.
I'm saying like, hey, probably you forgot my name and that's okay. So
Yeah,
my name is, which
yep.
then opens the door for them to do the same thing. That makes
Correct.
a lot of sense. That's
Correct.
good
Yeah.
advice.
Instead of
Yeah.
being like, "What was your name?"
Yeah.
That creates, like, a little
Yeah.
more awkward conversation, but if it for me, it just flows really well when I'm, like, reintroduce myself first, and then they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm Bob." I'm like, "That's right, yes, Bob."
That's
And then
good
I
advice.
find myself throughout the conversation repeating their name. So after they reintroduce themselves, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I remember you, Bob. It was great to see you at such and such event." Because a lot of times I'll remember what event that I met them at, but maybe
Right.
not quite their name
The
yet.
name.
And then throughout the conversation, especially at the very end, I'll be like, "Thank you so much, Bob, for our conversation." So that way, again, I'm actively saying their name again, which helps me remember for the next time.
That's great. And even in the middle of the conversation, if you want to say something, you say, "Hey, Bob, you know the blah, 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 blah."
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's super good advice. I'm
Hmm.
laughing to myself. I don't know if the audience will appreciate this, but and maybe, do you have pets?
I do.
Okay, so maybe you'll appreciate this, but my wife and I used to own a pet store that she owned, she managed, she operated, and because it's a local pet store, like it was like everywhere we went, honestly, it was like going out with a celebrity. Like everywhere we went, everywhere. I'm talking, it didn't matter where we went, grocery store, Home Depot, gas station, someone would go, "Oh, Sandra, blah, blah, blah," and she's like, "Oh,
Uh-huh.
it's a customer of the store." But then she'd always say, "That's like Spike's mom or Lucy's dad," or like, so all the staff would remember the pets' names like that. But the owners' names are like, "That's Lucy's dad." And then it's like, okay, you got to introduce yourself. So they'll say their name. So
I
now
love
everywhere
that.
we go in the neighborhood, "That's Lucy's dad. That's so-and-so's mom."
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. What are some qualities that you look for in a good referral partner? So if you're wanting to build a relationship with someone, you're meeting multiple times, you're building trust, what are qualities you look for? And the reason I ask that is, for anybody listening to this, my advice would be, listen to whatever Kristen's about to say about the qualities she's looking for in a good referral partner, because those are qualities you want to become when you're, building trust with somebody, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, one of the biggest pieces is the engagement with the person. So, making sure that they are being present in the moment, especially with through the conversations. If they are constantly checking their phone, then I know that they're not interested in the conversation. So, really
Mm,
being present, being open minded as far as being willing to work with each other, because it can't just be one sided. It can't just be them saying, okay, how are you going to help me? How are you going to help me? It needs to go both ways. So if I feel that it's only going one direction and it's not a reciprocal conversation, then
right.
that will be something that I will be mindful of as far as an ongoing relationship with them, because it really is great to have the relationships, but also the abundance mindset. The abundance
Yeah.
mindset is so key when you're in
So
networking.
win-win.
It needs to be a win-win. It needs to go back and forth. It can't just be like, "Oh, I'm looking to gain a sale," type of thing. Confidence in their business is one of the things that I look for, being knowledgeable in their own profession.
Because you do not want to refer someone who's bad at what they do, because then you
Right.
lose credibility. Yeah, I agree with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I wanna make sure that when I refer a client over to them, that I can trust that they're going to help that client the same level that I do. So, that confidence is going to be key, but really their knowledge behind what they do, because when someone's brand new in networking or in their profession, that confidence level may not be all the way there yet. There are definitely signs that someone is extremely knowledgeable in their profession and they're working to gain that confidence. Because when I first joined BNI, I first started my business, I was not very confident. I knew what I was doing. I was very good at my profession. I was a professional massage therapist. I knew all the things around massage, but I built the confidence over time. So, with networking, one of the cool things is you get to, in essence, build that confidence as you connect with different professionals and you learn different tips and tricks on communication skills and different things like that.
Right.
So, the knowledge is really key for me and the willingness to build confidence, because some people are just okay being where they're at and they don't want to grow to higher levels.
Right.
But I wanna make sure that they're going to want to grow alongside me so that way we can grow the businesses together.
That's a cool comment right there. I love that. Those are all really good tips. But that last one, if someone has a growth mindset and they're trying to evolve and get better, they say you're the sum or the average of the five people you spend the most time with.
Mhm.
Bam, you just hit that. Like, I want to, if I'm going to build a relationship with someone, I want them to be someone who's going to grow with me. Cause yeah, that's awesome. That's an interesting last piece of tip there. And I took one other thing away there. Sorry, I'm going to validate one of the things you just said about, like, they're asking questions, they're inquisitive. And I'll validate that by saying, like, we live here in the Valley. My dad lives in Calgary in Canada, and super personable guy. Everybody he meets loves him for varying reasons, but the number one reason, he's so inquisitive. Like he'll meet a stranger and he's super inquisitive and he asks questions and he genuinely asks questions.
Mhm.
So it's crazy because all our friends down here, if we utter the words, "Hey, my dad's coming down to visit," they're like, "Well, let's have a get together at your house, right?" And we'll have like, no, I'm not kidding. We'll have like 16 people want to come to the house that night. And it's not because, hey, we're having a party at Greg and Sandra's house. It's because, hey, his dad's in town. He's such a cool guy. I want to talk to him again. And it's simply, the number one reason is because he's inquisitive, but he's genuinely inquisitive. Like it's
Mhm.
not fake, right?
Mhm.
So I'm validating what you're saying. I love that. That's great
Yeah.
advice.
People can
Fantastic advice.
definitely tell when you're fake. So it's good to be genuine and sincere through any conversation. Be it's very easy to pick up when someone is just not in it and they are just kind of going
Yeah,
through the
that's great.
motion.
But this is what I do.
Right. Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that's awesome, but here's exactly what you need to know about me.
And here's how you buy from me. Just,
Yeah. Yeah. Here's how you pick some products to buy and sign on the dotted line.
yeah, totally. I get it. It's funny. Okay, so we've talked about fear speaking, which, by the way, actually, I want to go back to that because Toastmasters is sort of like the Kleenex of fear speaking is the assumption, right? But
Mhm.
I think, and I'm more, this isn't really a question. I'm just sort of validating something you said earlier. But I think BNI or a networking group, but say BNI is actually, I think, a better option because it's not just about overcoming your fear of speaking. There's a whole bunch more to it. Like
Mhm.
there's other benefits. It's actually networking in business. It's building relationships, all that stuff, right? So I think BNI or any other networking group can be a fantastic option that's not just focused on learning how to get over your fear of speaking. So we talked about fear of speaking. We talked about the issue of forgetting people's names. So another big one is, and I'm sure so many people go through this, you go into a networking event for the first time and you don't know people, right? And if you haven't spent a lot of time talking to strangers, networking, speaking in public, whatever, there's probably a lot of anxiety, right? Like, and I don't mean to add, so anybody listening to this, I don't mean to add more fear to that situation. But the result of going in and being super fearful and staying that way, the result can be, if you look at a whole bunch of stuff Kristen talked about today, which is how to be present in the moment, be seen as an expert, do all those things, be prepared. It's going to be really hard for that to come across properly if you're in your head and half of your brain's thinking about what not to say or be fearful, or which means you're not present in the moment. So it's actually, so the ripple effect of going in like that can actually cause a lot more damage. So what advice would you give? Someone's going into a room. How do they get out of their own head and get past that?
That is a good one because I was in that same situation when I walked into the very first networking event because I am 100% an introvert. I would much rather sit in the back of the room by myself and not mix and mingle with anyone, but I knew that that wasn't going to help,
No.
especially in my networking. So, one of the things that I first did when I walked into the room, I would find a friendly face to begin with, just so that way I could have an easy conversation. And through that, just because I kept in mind, like, this isn't a like high, like stressful situation. I had to keep reminding myself, like, these are just easy conversations, just easy conversations. I'm just going to connect with someone, ask them how they're doing. It doesn't have to be complicated because I do think that when we're going into any networking situations, like, okay, what do I talk about? What do I ask them? And we start doing 100 questions in our head with, what am I going to do next? Or who am I going to
Right.
connect with? And especially if you don't know anyone going into the event, it's like, I don't know anyone. Like, who am I going to talk to? The
Right.
great thing about networking is there's always people who are the extroverts. And so they're going to be the ones that will come up
And they
to you
love to
right
talk.
away. They love to talk, love to talk. And so I gained a lot of experience through those extroverts
Right.
because they were always the first people to like run up to me because they usually can sense and they can tell when someone is brand new into networking because you have that glazed look when you you walk in, like not knowing what you're doing, where you're going, who to connect with. So you're probably signing into the event at that point, and then the
That's right.
extroverts just kind of gravitate to you because they're like, "Ooh, all right, that person probably needs some help."
Right.
So I learned some tips and tricks from those extroverts, but over time, one of the things that really, really helped me was when I went into any type of event, I acted as if I was a host
Hmm.
because that shifted my mindset to actively kind of go up to someone and introduce myself, just pretending I was like a host at the event. Not saying that I would not tell them that I was a host, but my
No, but in your
mindset,
mind.
yeah, in
Yeah.
my mind, I
Yeah,
would
I get it.
act as if I was a host because
Yeah.
then I was forcing myself outside of my comfort zone and getting outside of my box to be able to proactively just walk up to someone and just have a normal conversation and not have the 100 questions going through my head like, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna say?" I'm like, "Just go in with a normal conversation," and then through that practice, then I built up to having bigger and better conversations about my business because then I built the confidence. But in the very beginning, it was basic conversations, but with connecting with different people, they were always ones to also prompt the questions, which made me feel more comfortable through the
Right.
conversations. So it gets better over time because anytime you're an introvert and you go into a big crowded situation, it's never fun. Like I would get physically ill going into different events and talking in front of people. I'm like, I'm not going to last very long. This does not feel good.
Well, I have a good idea. I should become like a director of operations for this.
Right, right. So, I mean, from the very beginning, one of the best pieces of advice that my direct BNI director at the time gave me was get involved as much as possible, especially if you're an introvert. So, within BNI, we have these things called visitor hosts. So, I started out as a visitor host to get more comfortable with forcing myself to introduce myself to people. And then
Right.
I would just advance into bigger and better roles over time because then getting more involved also helped my visibility and credibility. Even with the chambers, I became an ambassador and got involved as much as possible within the different events, volunteering with different things because when you are top of mind and you're more visible doing different things, you're more memorable. So I would always look for ways to either volunteer or offer my help and assistance with whatever was going on within the event because then I was connecting with more people on a different level outside of just business. It's like, yeah, like Kristen helped us with XYZ and she's
Right.
also a massage therapist. So like it was kind of
Right.
the end game was on the business side, but my intention was just to kind of go in as a act as a host, but also offer my help whenever I could, because then I was being a giver in a way to help
Yep.
the event or organization for whatever event I was at.
I love it. I think you just said being a giver in it. So all I would add to all this is say, or paraphrase, is get out of your own head, excuse me, and maybe one, like know your stuff, like
Hmm.
be an expert at what you do.
Hmm.
Know, have the knowledge. Like that's number one period because that builds confidence. Another one would be like you're going into an event, there's a lot of people. So it's no different than like how do you get over fear of speaking in front of a group of people is what I think anyway, is don't speak to the group. Like pick a person and then the next sentence, pick a person, and the next sentence, pick a person. So a networking event, you're walking in the door. You're not going to walk in the door and start speaking to a whole bunch of people. Like that's not how networking events work. So don't think of that. Just you're walking in to speak to a person, right?
Hmm.
And then to your point, maybe someone will come to you. And then if there's a big concern, it's awkward. Remember this, if you're going to a networking event, nobody went to the networking event to get offended by someone approaching them. Like
True.
it's a
True.
networking event.
Yep. Yep.
Like
Everyone's there to
nobody's
connect.
yeah, it's nobody's gonna get mad at you from walking up and saying hi. And then if you're just unsure what to say, be inquisitive, ask
Hmm.
questions, right? And it just and then your very last point there about the givers thing, it made me realize and be a giver, be more helpful than you take in the conversation. And that will make you memorable and that'll make them want to get to know you better. And they'll walk away thinking that's a great person. Like I said, in the neighborhood here, everybody thinks my dad's the most amazing person. And it's because he asks questions. He's inquisitive. So I love
Hmm.
that. That's really cool. One last big question. Someone's listened to this and gone, okay, I need to clearly, get out of my own head and speak to a group. What are some tips you have for someone who's listening to this and going, okay, I need to clearly, get out of my own head and speak to a group? What are some tips you have for someone who's listening to this and going, okay, I need to clearly get into networking, join something, do something, what advice do you give them as to which ones to look for, how to have a selection process of which ones to pick, I guess?
Yeah, so there are so many different types of networking about events out there. So it really comes down to what your ideal results are wanting to be. Because if you're just wanting to make some quick connections, maybe some of the mixers and open type of events may be really, really great. Or if you're looking for more deeper connections, more referrals, then a more structured type of networking may be the better route to go because a lot of the structured type of networking has more accountability to it because with some of the different mixers and just kind of the open events, you may see the same people and you may not see the same people. So it's just kind of always a rotating thing. But what I've found over time is when you are consistently networking with the same people and building those relationships, it creates bigger and better results as far as the amount of referrals and business coming your way. So, structure is definitely one of the key pieces that I loved. I mean, BNI is one of the examples that has a structured amount and an agenda, and they have the accountability. Accountability is kind of like the crazy A word. People either love it or they hate it because when they come into a networking event, they're like, "Oh, what is all this accountability stuff? Why are people making sure that I show up?" But it really does create bigger and
Yeah.
better results. If people aren't fans of accountability, they don't usually last long in BNI, but those that
And
love
neither
and
does their
thrive,
business.
they do, and sometimes people aren't as in it for their own business as they should be, because if they can implement the same tactics and strategies that some of these different networking events are having into their own business and see even bigger and better success and results.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think, yeah, I concur totally. Checking out different networking groups online, in person, etc. I kind of say it like this. When I first got into business coaching like 16 years ago, I went to all the networking events everywhere, did all the stuff. And most of the ones that aren't structured, it's like you see it's the same people at every event and they're all different branded events. Like these events are not tied together,
Mhm,
but it's the same group of people that go to every single one of them and they all
mhm.
know each other and they're just all trying to sell. They don't build relationships with each other. What they do is all hang around and they wait for the newbie to walk in. And then it's like a bunch of piranha. Like I went to a few of those and I'm like, okay, this is not what I want to be a part of.
Yeah, yeah,
But
and there needs to be
where,
strategy around passing referrals. There has to
yeah,
be a
totally.
strategy around passing referrals because sometimes if you have those events and you still see the same people and it's not rotating people, if there's no intention to pass referrals, then it's just a glorified coffee club or get together
Yeah.
versus like actual strategy creating to grow your business.
And they're all just there to sell to someone who's new versus what I love about BNI or any one that's structured like that. So your point is have structure and have accountability. Have
Mhm,
accountability to the point where it's like, it's a fear of being kicked out because you're not doing your part.
mhm,
Which is great. That makes it work. It's like you're on a sports team. If you don't produce, you're cut. I mean,
yep,
hello, it's the same thing.
yep,
So,
yep.
yeah, I love it. I think that's great. And one last question. Someone's interested in joining a network group, and based on today's conversation, they want to check a BNI out. Wherever they live in the world, how do you suggest they do that?
Absolutely. So the easiest way to first get connected with BNI is just to go to bni.com. And because bni.com is the global website, so it'll direct you to the different region for your area because each of the different franchises around the world have their own specific website. But you can access them all through bni.com, which is the great thing because BNI Arizona has their own BNI Arizona website. So for those local here, they'll go to that website. But if someone's anywhere around the world, they can just go to bni.com, put in their zip code and their location, and it'll connect them with all of the BNI chapters in their area. And when someone's first checking it out, I highly recommend visiting multiple chapters because each one has
Uh,
its own
Good
different
idea.
personality, different culture. And when you attend a BNI event and you're like, okay, these are my people, you'll know you're in the right spot. So
That's
I
great
always
advice.
recommend visiting multiple and because there are going to be several that are going to be in your area wherever you're at around the world, which is
Right.
a great thing.
Yeah, that's really good advice. That's actually, yeah, I love it. That's what I did. I went to BNI.com, checked out the chapters in the area, started looking, and then one of the members I knew really well, and I'm like, I really like him. I know what he's, so phoned him, said, is the chapter like you? He's like, yep. I'm like, perfect. I want to come. So
That's perfect.
yeah. Okay. So before we go, our producer likes to throw a couple of unexpected questions at us right at the end, the get to know you questions that I have not seen yet. So the questions are to both of us. So I'm not being rude and looking at my phone while we're talking on a podcast.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
All right. Now that I've just been told I'm not allowed to do that.
Now we just finished talking about not doing that.
Okay, question one. And you answer first, then I'll answer. What's the most interesting person you have ever met, and what influence did that person make in your life? Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, most interesting person. I would say the most interesting person that I've met and that had the most impact in my life, especially in the very beginning with networking, growing my own business, was my BNI director at the time, Miss Bonnie Maley. So she is a life coach, and through building my business and having the right mindset and the right confidence, I actually met with her a couple different times, which helped tremendously because a lot of times we get stuck in oh my gosh, where am I going to find the business? Is there enough business out there? To shift it to the abundance mindset in that there's a lot of business and there's enough business to go around for everyone. And that totally shifted everything I did moving forward with my business, which I think opened up so many more doors and gave me a better outlook in just life in general, which was amazing. So I would say that had the most impact so far.
Actually, listening to that, I'm envisioning that probably has helped and gone a long way to making you so successful in the job you have now.
Hmm.
Because the job you have now is not an easy one. You got 2,400 business. It's like herding cats, right? And they
Lots of
all want to,
cats.
right? And they all want to. And I'm not saying anything bad about cats for the record, but I don't want hate mail. But they're all business owners that are, trying to sell, right? And you're trying to help them understand everything we talked about today. But you wouldn't be able to do that. You wouldn't be very good at it unless you had that mindset. So that's actually really
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
I can see that. That makes sense. Okay, mine is not a person. It's two people and a dog, and they're all for the same reason. I know it sounds weird, but my dad and my uncle played pro sports, won a Grey Cup, so at a high level. So Super Bowl in the CFL, started a business that became extremely successful. But the point about it was the influence wasn't the success. The influence was losing wasn't an option ever. I grew up being influenced by people that losing is not an option. Now, so I don't sound like I'm a bully, because that's not what I'm trying to sound like. When I say losing is not an option, I don't mean be a bully, but just there's always a way, right? There's always a way. No matter what's going on, there's always a way. And then the third human, which is not a human, it's my dog, that has the same attitude. One of our dogs, like, man, yeah, there's always a way. She's the most focused, like tenacious, there's always a way living creature I've ever met. She's just like not mean. She's not mean or bully, but just losing is not an option. Like she's 65 pounds and she could take on a 200-pound dog in a tug of war. No problem. Like, and she'll win. She'll win. Like, she'll die before she loses. It's crazy.
That's
Again, not a
awesome.
bully, just never give up attitudes. So anyway, second question. What is currently the lock screen or background image on your phone, and what story does it tell about you?
So my lock screen image is an image of my two dogs. So my dogs are in essence my kids. They are amazing. I spend all of my extra time with them. Absolutely love my girls. So that
That's
is my
awesome.
lock screen is my dogs.
What
So
kind of
I
dogs?
have a Rottweiler pit mix and I have an
Oh, nice.
Australian Shepherd pit mix. So
Nice.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Both like 65, 75 pounds, just always crazy. So that's why I'm at the office today, because they would be barking at anyone walking in front of the house or
Right.
snoring or
Yeah. Yeah.
playing tug of war with each other, just making a whole lot of noise in the background anytime I'm doing something that I need them to be
Yeah.
quiet.
That's awesome. So, at the risk of sounding not original, like when someone orders a meal and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna have what they said." Yeah, my screens are 3 dogs. And to sound even more like I'm copying your answer, 2 of the 3 are pitties. So,
Oh,
so it's like,
I love it.
but the picture is at our cabin, and it says it's crazy, actually. So our cabin says there's no road to our cabin. You can only get there with a boat. So when you get to the boat dock, you go up a ramp and there's a big sign right there that says Bear Cabin. And it's called Bear Cabin because of bears. But all 3 of our dogs' names are bears, and that sign and that cabin was called that before we bought it.
Oh,
So,
that's
and all
awesome.
3 of our dogs are bear names. It's so like meant to be kind of thing. So I got a great picture of them underneath the sign at the top of the boat ramp. Yeah, it's cool.
That's
So,
awesome.
but same thing, dog lovers can't,
Yeah.
they're they're family, they're like our kids, right? So,
Yep. They so
I'm
are.
I'm with you on that one. And people that don't understand, don't understand. Like, the people
Oh,
that
yeah. They're
so,
like,
you
"What?"
know how there's, like I always say there's, like, food, like Mexican food or sushi where it's either really good or shitty, there's no in between.
Mhm.
So, I think it's the same with dogs, you either love or you totally don't understand. There's not usually much in between. Like,
Yeah.
the people who don't
Yeah.
understand think we're crazy, and the people
100%.
that understand think the people that don't understand are crazy. So,
Yeah, I don't understand why people don't like dogs. Like, it just doesn't compute in my brain.
I'm the same.
They provide so much love.
Yeah, totally. Unconditionally. Yeah. Kristen, thank you very, very much. Very much appreciate the advice. As I said, I think networking's, I think yeah, one of the top strategies small businesses should be focused on. And it's awesome to have a networking professional expert join us and give advice. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thanks for listening to the More Profit, Less Stress podcast. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform and leave a comment or review as it helps with the algorithm. To learn more about us and what we do, check out our website. Until next time, go make it happen.